All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Global Reality. Right here on the Global Reality Radio Network, I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Monday, September 12th, 2016 edition of the broadcast. We are back up and running here and broadcasting somewhat. We're not still 100% ready to go with everything else we're going to be doing here with video and all that. That stuff's still being set up, but we are at least here in audio form with you here today. And this is honestly the first time I've been able to do any kind of a broadcast yet, because we just now got everything, or just now getting everything set up within the new studio and able to broadcast and all that. So thank you for being here with us, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for being patient while we get everything going here. This is going to be a new relaunch of the show and everything. I'm going to be changing the format of the show a little bit, doing it a little bit differently, making the show, excuse me, just making it a little bit different from the way I've done it before, just to mix it up and change it up a little bit. We'll also be doing some different video segments and whatnot. Now, this is also a warning for you people who've been listening exclusively on YouTube. We're no longer going to be putting every show up daily in its full length on YouTube. So if you want to hear all the complete shows, and you also want to have access to the new video content we're going to be putting out, which also won't be uploaded to YouTube, it'll be exclusive to our archive members, you want to make sure you go to theglobalreality.com and hit that subscribe button there on the top right-hand corner and get yourself an archive membership. And get subscribed so you can keep up with all the new and awesome stuff we're going to be putting out here in the coming days, weeks, and months. This is our 9-year anniversary month. 9 years of broadcasting here this month. The 26th will be the actual anniversary date for that. And it's been a long, hard road. And this year's been no different. It's been tough. It's been really tough. A lot tougher than I've indicated, I think, on any of these broadcasts and any of the stuff that I've done up to this point. It's been tough, and it's not been easy, and it's going to continue to be tough and not be easy. But we are soldiering on and continuing on here with our work and with the broadcast. I really want to get more input from the audience out there. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear what what you want to hear me talk about. Things that I want to dedicate at least, one day a week or something, or one show a week or something, to dedicate to exclusively just talking about and answering questions and talking about what you want to talk about. Because I get emails all the time. People want to know information. People want to, this, that, and the other. Insist that I have one-on-one time with him, and I cannot do one-on-one convos and talks and stuff with everybody. I just can't do it. And it's sometimes the way people are about these things, it makes me suspicious, because if you got a question about something, I can either answer that question in email or I can answer it on the show. There's a variety of ways I can do that, and it's going to get you the answer you need. These people that are insistent, that I have to talk to them one-on-one, I just don't trust that. Call me crazy, call me paranoid, whatever. How do I know? I don't know who you are. I don't know that you're not going to put mind control frequencies or some shit over the thing when I talk to you. I don't have time to do it. The amount of requests I get for one-on-one convos and talks, I don't have to. But I'll happily answer anything and talk about any topic you want to talk about. But again, that's what makes me suspicious about some of these people, because that's never good enough for them. Most people, real people, if they have a question about something, they're happy to let me answer it on the show, and that's no problem. See, I don't do phone calls. I quit doing that phone call thing years ago because it's fucking a retarded waste of time, honestly. It really is. Any radio talk show host that tells you they like taking phone calls is a goddamn liar. I've talked to nobody likes doing it. In fact, the only people that take phone calls on their shows, the only reason they do it is because they're not versed enough in the topics in which you're talking about to fill up a show with information. And I refuse to do it, because people that call in, they never have anything important to talk about. And a lot of them just want to hijack your show and use your show as their platform to spout things that, the host may or may not even endorse. So I don't do the phone call thing. It's a total waste of time. It eats up the time. It eats up the show. And it's just a way for people who don't have content to fill up the rest of the show. That really is the truth. People who do nothing but who fill up shows with callers and call-ins, it's all just because they don't have anything else to talk about. They're trying to eat up time. That's all it is. So in lieu of that, I'd rather have, people send emails and people ask questions, and I'll have a thing dedicated to that. I'm going to do a variety of different shows, and I'm also going to be expanding what I talk about. You may tune into this show sometimes and hear me talk about stuff that has nothing to do very much with conspiracies or whatnot. And if you don't like that, then go on, mosey on down the road. That's just all there is to it. You can't please everybody, and no matter what you do, you're going to have some people that are going to love it, and you're going to have some people that are going to not love it. That's just the way it is. But I've got a lot more interests in life than just talking about these assholes they rule the world all the time. Yes, the show will still predominantly be about all the topics we talked about, but occasionally I might want to talk about music or movies or something like that, or whatever it may be. I'm into a lot of different things. I'm much more multifaceted than just this stuff, and I want to start exercising that. I have a vast amount of knowledge in music and film and a lot of different things. So I want to start incorporating some of that as well. But boy, I tell you, it's been a long, hard road. It was very tough for us to make it to this point and get our new studio up and get everything up and running. And we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, we're literally, we have nothing here to operate on or do anything on, because it took every single penny that we had to get into this new studio, and it's going to be continued to, we're going to have to work and have everybody's support out there, because we've got to cover our operating costs 100% every month, and we've got to have it no later than the first. We've had some leeway before, and ability to be a day or two late. We don't have that anymore here with this new studio. We have to have everything on the first, by the first, no later than that. But it really, with what it costs us to run this and all this, it's really not a lot. So, but again, those of you who have been listening just on YouTube, because there's a lot of people, and this bullshit model that was created by the CIA controlled figureheads in the so-called truth movement. A lot of what I exposed in my films, like The Secret Right, and of course my most recent film, The Spellcasters, which is out now, by the way, and you can go get a download of that at my website, theglobalreality.com. But this fake, phony model of these guys who have millions of dollars pumped into them by the CIA and the rest of these groups in Scientology. This idea that, you just make everything free and then you'll get tons more supporters. That's a lie. That's a facade. You name me one person out there in any field of anything that's ever had success by just giving it all away for nobody. But yet there's this thing somehow, because you talk about these subjects, there's this mentality where people expect everything to be free. And it's not free. It's not free for me to do a show. It's not free for me to make films. None of this stuff is. And you perpetuate that BS when you don't put a value on what you do. What I do and my work and my time has value to it. And if it doesn't to you, then go on down the road. But we'll be putting partial shows. We'll be putting partial shows up on YouTube daily. So every day we'll put a little piece, a little taste. And then if you want to hear and see the whole thing, you'll have to go there to my website and get a subscription to our archives. And they're cheap. You can buy by the month. You can do every 3 months and every deal and it gets cheaper the longer you get an archive membership for. But included, as I mentioned, included there daily. And it won't be instantaneous for the video, but in the daily archives of the radio show, there will be links in there that will have the video broadcast of the show as well, and it'll also have some additional content and whatnot that won't be in the daily shows, and you'll only get those from becoming a member to our HD archives at theglobalreality.com. And we're also looking to bring on some sponsors. If you've got a product or a service or something like that that you want me to do a live read and do live promotion for daily here on the show and become a sponsor, please contact me, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and I'll give you a good rate for sponsorship to get your products out there, and you'll have me promoting it and giving you access to our audience and our listeners out there who will be interested in your service, hopefully. So get in contact with me. We're going to try to do some sponsorship stuff as well here. But I'm excited that we've got a green screen, we've got lights, all this stuff is still being kind of set up and tested and stuff. So right now, it's just bear with us as we continue to do that. But today was the first day I've actually been able to have everything ready to go enough to actually do an audio broadcast here. So I thought I would at least do that, and so we can get started, because we're going to be back to doing shows a lot. There's going to be a lot of regular shows now. And again, as I mentioned, other shows, I'll be doing stuff that'll be, I'll do shows where I just talk about gems and minerals and crystals and stuff like that. I'll do another show where it's just kind of me just kind of chilling and it's loose and I'm not really in the same kind of mode like I am now doing a radio show. There's going to be a lot of things. We've got a lot of ideas. I don't want to tell everybody about everything yet. And we're also looking into expanding into some content with, giving other people out there a chance to have a platform and whatnot as well. But that's all stuff that's in the works. It's not stuff that none of this is going to happen. That's not going to happen instantaneously. But we are hoping to have the video part of it and everything up in the next week. And we'll continue here with the regular audio stuff. We're going to have some new intros. I mean, we're working on a lot of stuff. I'm going to have new intros and new little bumps. I'm going to work on having some little, spots in there where I can tell people to support our work so I don't have to do it every time myself. Obviously with certain things I'm going to tell you, we have our fundraising week and we have to raise our money to cover operating costs. I'll do that. But I'm just going to be working on tweaking the show and making everything more professional and just work on having the presentation to be better than it was. And with a lot of the video stuff that we have access to now, it's definitely going to allow us to be able to make everything slick and really professional looking. If you see my new film, The Spellcasters, you can really tell that the production value and whatnot has gone up significantly as opposed to what they were with some of our other stuff in the past. So it's exciting, absolutely. Everybody just please continue to be patient and hang in there as we get everything up and running. We'll also have we don't have it up yet. It should be up there by the end of the day. We'll have our new, our September 2016 9-year anniversary operating fundraiser banner up as well. We have a few more things we need here for the studio really before we can do everything up and running. We need a new office chair. We need one of those mats that goes underneath it. There's several things, but we'll have our fundraiser for the month that will encompass what we need for the month and everything else. So we'll have that up in the next 24 hours at my website, theglobalreality.com. Got lots of emails last week. Yes, I indeed heard about this. I heard about it as soon as it happened, but I don't even drink anymore, but boy, I had a drink that night to toast the ding dong, the bitch is fucking dead. Yes, indeed, Phyllis Schlafly. Rot in fucking hell, you dirty, old, nasty bitch. God damn. One down, a bunch more to go. I always have a party every time one of these CMP fuckers shuffles off. Oh, what a dirty, filthy whore that is. Jesus Christ. Can you believe that bitch actually had the audacity to tell women that they needed to stay home and be in the kitchen and stay at home and be loyal to their man and not go to college and not have a job and not be educated, that they needed to stay home and this whole fucking ancient ass Puritan fucking ideology of how women should behave. Can you believe she had the audacity to, I mean, it's one thing to say that, but it's another thing to be a complete and utter fucking hypocrite like Phyllis Schlafly and have 3 or 4 degrees and, you know what I mean? She was always telling women to do these things. She was never doing those herself. Give me a fucking break. And, that speaks volumes for the hypocrisy of all of these figureheads and talk, women should stay in the kitchen and make babies and be loyal to their husband. Blah, 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 blah. But she didn't do that. Absolutely not. What's good for you isn't good for her, you see. And that's quintessential elitist attitude right there in a nutshell. But the fascinating stuff, though, with Phyllis Schlafly, when you really look into, she's really a, I don't know what you'd want to call it, maybe patient zero or whatever for really the whole thing that I've covered and talked about all these years in exposing the Council for National Policy, of which she was a member, and these secretive right-wing groups, and really why they're important and why they are something you need to be informed about. It's beyond just the fact that they're, CIA front organizations that control things like the so-called truth movement and the rest of this stuff. Phyllis Schlafly herself is a great example of who really controls these groups and what we're really talking about in terms of power and control. And Phyllis Schlafly, a lot of people, they know that name, but they don't know her by her actual maiden name. And it's her full name actually tells you everything that you need to know about her lineage. And it's fascinating because her real name, or her maiden name, was Phyllis Bruce Stewart. And you look at that and you go, well, why in the shit would somebody give a female a male middle name? Why, to the average layperson, they probably see that and they don't get it and they don't understand what it is. Phyllis Bruce Stewart. That name is not an accident. It was done with intent because it shows what the elite consider to be special. See, a lot of these bloodline type individuals usually have it on one side or the other, matriarchal or patriarchal. They usually have mother or father. But with Phyllis Schlafly, she is one of the rarest ones. In fact, I don't know of another example. Was the only living example of this that I've been able to find. Now, that's not to say there aren't many more like her out there, but as far as people that are prominent and whatnot, she's the only example I've ever been able to find of what you call a blue blood on both sides of her family. She's of the Bruce bloodline and the Stewart bloodline. Now, you can look into those bloodlines on your own, but she had two different bloodline lineages, blue blood lineages on both sides of her family. This is why they gave her the name Phyllis Bruce Stewart, and not something like Phyllis Mary Stewart or something like that. That they wanted people, and they wanted, I guess, her to know as she got older, her lineage. You have Robert the Bruce from Scotland. Robert Bruce contended for the Scottish independence with King Edward I of England. Robert's son, Robert the Bruce, was crowned King of Scots in 1314 and declared Scottish independence after defeating Edward II at Bannockburn. Robert the Bruce was not only the liberator of Scotland, but also the priest king of the Celtic Church, sovereign grand master of the Order of the Knights Templar, and founder of the Rosy Cross, a.k.a. the Rosicrucians. And of course, Phyllis Schlafly was a Dame of Malta, which is the female version of the Knights of Malta. And her family goes back to the founders of the Rosicrucians and a guy who was the Grand Master of the Knights Templar. And it just goes on and on. And of course, this is the real thing that people need to understand of why it's important to expose these people. And I'm telling you, I went to this thing back in 2008 when I shot footage of her that's in the first Secret Right film. And I've just never seen anything like it. I mean, people stood up when she walked in the room like she was the Queen of England. And I didn't get that yet. I hadn't gotten that into my research yet. I just knew she was, a member of this group. I knew she was going to be at that meeting, so I thought I'd go get footage of her or whatever. I didn't expect the absolute worship that people exuded when she walked into the room. And I wanted to know why that was. Literally, I've never seen... In my life, I've never been in a situation and seen people act like the Pope just walked in, or Mother Teresa, or, whatever. People were on their feet, man, like, in awe when she walked in. And that's what made me go, there's something else going on here I don't know about yet. I need to find out what's up. There's no reason why these people would be acting like this. And, of course, that's when I found out all the stuff about her lineage and whatnot. So, again, it's a good lesson, because somebody like this can just kind of seem like a talking head or a right-wing crony. These people are in these positions for a reason, not by accident. And most of the time it has to do with their lineage and their bloodline and their relation back to people who are in these secret societies and these ancient magical groups and the rest, and religious groups and the rest of it. So that's enough about you rotten bitch. I don't believe in a hell, but I believe there's one for that bitch to burn in. Have fun with Satan sticking the pitchfork up your ass for the rest of eternity, you fucking rotten fucking hole. Ugh. Good riddance. Ding dong, the bitch is dead. 15 years since 9/11. That's crazy. It's been 15 years since 9/11. 9 of those years I've been broadcasting and doing my thing here. I don't really have much to add anymore on, or much to say anymore about 9/11. I think that at this stage of the game, pretty much everything that could be said about it has been said. But I will say this. I think that the one absolutely true thing, and probably the only absolutely true thing that anyone really could say about 9/11 was this. Despite all the theories, despite all the information, despite all the things that we have, we know what that was. And bottom line, it wasn't what they told us it was. That's number one. But number two is, I don't think, just based on my own research and all my years of looking at this, I don't think anybody has ever gotten it 100% right, and I don't think anybody ever will. I think how it happened, what was used to pull that thing off, we may learn it one day, but I don't think anybody out there, no matter how good their theories they think they are, I don't think anybody else yet has that. I don't think anybody's ever got it 100% right. And I don't think anybody ever will, because they use technology beyond, I think, a lot of what most people, even people who consider themselves aware of these type of things, can even comprehend. But there was something that happened at the first of the month that got me, it just, the images of it I said, I've seen something like this before. Where have I seen something like this before? Oh, yeah, 9/11. A lot of you've probably seen this by now. The SpaceX rocket explosion that happened. SpaceX rocket, Elon Musk and that whole thing. Fascinating stuff when you see this. They weren't even trying to do a launch. That's a misconception. There wasn't a launch going. There was no fuel going. They were just doing some tests on a platform, and you can see this fast-moving object come by, and essentially it looks like it blows up the rocket while it's on the launching pad. And even Elon Musk himself has said now, we're not ruling out the fact that this could have been something shooting it down. And of course, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's a UFO, it's a UFO. And these are the same people who perpetuate the idea that everything that unexplainable that happens as a result of UFOs and extraterrestrials and aliens. Now, as you know, I'm somebody who's a firm believer in UFOs and extraterrestrials and aliens. I've had many personal experiences with all those things, so I can't deny it. But at the same time, not everything can be blamed on that, and a lot of this stuff, I think, I personally think this SpaceX thing, I don't think this had anything to do with little green men, aliens, grays, UFOs, or anything else like that. An unidentified flying object is simply anything that flies that's unidentified, that you can't readily identify as a craft that is known to exist. But again, it's one of those terms that's been misapplied, misused over and over again, kind of like conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorists, so that every time you hear the term, it automatically creates a predisposed belief or opinion on something, and thereby shutting down all rational thought on the subject. And that's what any mention of UFOs and stuff, you mean this thing that blew up this rocket or flew by when this rocket blew up was a UFO. Does that mean it was 100% aliens? No, it doesn't mean it was 100% aliens. I think more than likely this was some, a government-controlled craft of some kind. And look, the powers that be have a very vested interest in controlling access to space. And I think they're afraid that Elon Musk is going to, in a lot of these civilian-based space programs are going to expose their larger conspiracy and the larger thing that they've been trying to hide all these years. But I mentioned 9/11. The thing that got me when I saw this clip is I said, I've seen this before. It looks if you watch the footage, just as of the planes going into the buildings on 9/11, you see these similar fast-moving objects fly by the Twin Towers about the time the explosion happens. And if you look, the way the flash happens on the rocket exploding, the flash is almost identical to the flash you see just right as the supposed plane is going into the building on 9/11. So, absolutely, I think they have these fast-moving machines that have, they admit that they have stuff like the X-37B, and drones. They admit, folks, that they have drones now that have plasma cannons on them. Fucking plasma cannons, laser blasters. You tell that to your average fucking citizen, and they look at you like you're fucking crazy, full of shit, or anything else. Yet the military admits to this. But because they try to keep people in such a state of arrested development as far as what they will believe is true and possible, it's still, in 2016, sounds like a fantasy to some people when we have advanced weapons well beyond what the general public knows and have had for decades. I think that these civilian space programs are being seen as a threat. I think there is data and information they may uncover by doing independent launches that could, be a major problem for the powers that be. So absolutely, I think this was not done by aliens, as a lot of people have put out there. And a lot more people are trying to say that it was aliens that blew up this rocket than they are the idea that this was the powers that be trying to keep. They just don't want us. I think if you unravel the whole space thing, you start to unravel stuff like, why we never really went to the moon and the rest of it. Scientists invite conspiracy theorists to check out alleged mind-controlling weather machine. For decades, tinfoil fashionistas... Oh, God. Right. There we go. Just first thing. Right. You must wear a tinfoil hat if you believe there's such a thing as HAARP. Even though they readily admit it exists, they admit right here in this article it exists. See how they do that? See that Orwellian doublethink? I mean, the article admits it exists, yet in the first sentence of the article, they say you must have been wearing a tinfoil hat to believe it exists. It's just so fucking sickening. Tinfoil fashionistas have attributed a number of sinister happenings to the atmospheric research program known as HAARP, including hurricanes, earthquakes, and even the destruction of the Space Shuttle Columbia. After this week, however, it will be a lot harder to entertain those claims. On Saturday, the supposed weather-altering secret weapon is holding an open house. We hope that people will actually be able to see the science of it. Right. Okay, so we'll just let people come in and see it. This will dispel any conspiracy theories. As if you can tell what the thing does by just walking in. I mean, I've seen the inside of these systems before. They're just big rooms where they have all the computers and whatnot that run these things. And since HAARP works in combination with other ionospheric heating systems around the planet, I mean, again, this is very telling just in terms of the fact that they're trying to dispel any of the beliefs. But didn't I hear that they shut this thing down not too long ago? I mean, look, HAARP is going to be talked about, and it's going to be used as a scapegoat because it's the most well-known thing. And yes, they're going to try to act like that technology is not used for what it's used for. And yes, they're going to still put emphasis on HAARP when really at this point, HAARP is just one of many facilities. The Russians had one called Sura, the Sura ionospheric heating system that looked just like HAARP in the 1980s. So these systems are not new, but again, anytime they want to try and downplay something that is started to make headway with the general public, and the general public has started to, ask questions about, they're always going to try and shut it down. All right, what else we got here? World's largest pyramid is hidden inside a mountain in Mexico. Early settlers built a church on top of a hill, not knowing that the Great Pyramid Kolulu lay beneath. Right. Yeah, okay. So we don't even have to go any farther into the article yet for me to be able to start in on that. This is right at the heart of a lot of the stuff that I've discovered in my own work, in my Lost Secrets films. I mean, the headline on this article alone is full of disinformation and lies. And that's been proven time and again by a lot of my work and a lot of other people's work. I mean, the idea, they just accidentally, right? They accidentally built this church on top of this hill, which of course, hill also is AKA, that's a code word for mound. Not knowing that the world's largest pyramid was under the... Yeah, right. Bullshit. That's an absolute lie. And we know it's a lie based on the empirical evidence we've seen of many, many other ancient sites all around the world having modern structures built on top of them to conceal what they are. Now, this is nothing new. This isn't something that's just started to happen in the past 100 years or something. This has been going on for centuries. I've talked about this before on shows and in the films and stuff, but, people take for granted why, they just don't think about, it's not something they think about, but I ask people to consider this. Consider why, think of whatever town or city, you live, think of a major city. For where I live, a great example, Dallas. Now think about this. Why was the city of Dallas built where it was? Why wasn't the city of Dallas built 50 miles south of here? Well, because 50 miles south of here, there ain't shit. They built it here because there were ancient sites, there were ancient mounds, there were ancient things they found here. And I've proven that, but that's not just my opinion. That's a fact. You can go back to the original colonies in this area of Dallas. Before it was called Dallas, you had the Peters Colony. There's actually a city out in the suburbs of Dallas called the Colony, because that's where the original Peters Colony is built. And over the past 20 years, it used to be small and really nothing out there. Over the past 20 years, it's grown up and become populated. And there's, big time multi-million-dollar houses built out there. And I went driving around out there a couple of years ago, and I was blown away. Everything's built on mounds out there. There's mounds. I'd known that they had found mounds in the area, and the guy that set up the Peters Colony was a master mason, of course. But when I went out there, started driving around, I started noticing all these big new subdivisions. All the houses are built on mounds. You could tell they were built on mounds, the way they were constructed. There's mounds in the neighborhood, and all of the street names had names like, I'm trying to think of examples. Stuff that's taken from like Native American lore and stuff that's taken from stuff I've seen, sites I've been in New Mexico. And it's just, you start to go, okay, now I see what this is. Folks, they've been building stuff. The city grids and cities were built where they were built because they found ancient habitations and civilizations and built on top of what was already there. Whether we're talking about rock wall, that's a clear one, or whether we're talking about stuff, or like the city of Philadelphia. The city of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania was built on top of ancient mound sites. Washington, D.C., how much time do we got? We could go on and on here. It's Thomas Jefferson. These guys... Thomas Jefferson taking the credit for the city grid of Alexandria, Virginia. That guy was digging up mounds and digging up stuff and covering up stuff even in his day. The city grid for the city of Alexandria, Virginia was already there, ladies and gentlemen. These modern people build new structures on top of it and take credit for it. So this idea that somehow this Mexican church was accidentally built on top of the largest pyramid ever discovered is bullshit. Again, these religious types have been trying to keep these ancient sites hidden from us for centuries because, just like the rock wall or any of these ancient sites, the knowledge they contain, the information they contain, throws the entire narrative that science and religion have been pumping us with for forever. It just throws it up in the air and makes it invalid. That's why they want to keep this stuff covered up. Because they can't very well tout the idea the earth is 6,000 or 7,000 years old or something, can they, when there's, structures we find that are 340,000 years old and older. A small building in Mexico tells the violent history of treachery and conquest at the great Aztec city of Colulu, but for hundreds of years, a secret lay beneath its floors. Hiding under the grass, trees, and soil sits the Great Pyramid of Colula, deemed the largest monument ever built on Earth, with a base 4 times the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza. In 1519, Herman Cortez and his men marched into the city and massacred 10% of the population, building a tiny church on top of a massive hill as a symbol of their conquest. And it wasn't until 1910 that the pyramid that lay underneath was finally discovered. Yeah, they knew full about it. Spain, the Los Alumbrados. I mean, look into all this stuff, folks. And acting like these people, they just built the tiny church there just to. Let me get this straight. You build a tiny church on top of a giant hill that has a giant pyramid underneath it, and your only goal was to memorialize you killing 10% of the population? Come on. Why would a church be something you would build? They knew it was there. They were trying to mark it as their own and lay claim to that for the Catholic Church, essentially. And it's very close to Teotihuacan and some of these other massive pyramid structures that, again, that relate to Quetzalcoatl, and Quetzalcoatl being very closely described to the descriptions of Jesus, being just really another incarnation of the same energy. He could walk on water. He said, "Put no other gods before me," blah, 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 blah. That's the impetus. That anything that challenges the religious, and I don't think that it really, the religious hierarchies of the planet are what rule the planet and keep the knowledge that we seek hidden from us. Period, end of story. You can blame every other group and every other fucking thing on the place of the planet, but at the end of the day, the religious power structures of this planet rule the planet, and they have since the beginning of time, and nothing has changed. Even going back to ancient Sumeria, they didn't have government and, senators and congressmen and all that. No, the government was ran by the priesthood going back to the first post-flood civilizations that popped up on this planet in what is now Iraq. And nothing has changed. Nothing has changed to this day except what back then they were transparent. The public knew that the priesthood were in charge of running things, and they had the knowledge, and they were the ones that had all the knowledge, all the information. And they gave that out to the people as they saw fit. And they started to realize how much power you would gain by only telling the people certain bits of information and keeping the rest in as a closely guarded secret within the ranks of the priesthood. This has not changed. And the fact that this is not talked about enough is one of the, you want to talk conspiracy, one of the biggest conspiracies. And it's something that everybody needs to understand if you ever hope to gain a real grasp on all of this information and really hope to learn who really controls things. That's the bottom line. All right, well, let's see here. Anything else I wanted to cover? Our goal for this week, we need to raise at least $100 this week. We have miscellaneous operating cost stuff that we have to cover this week. So we need a minimum of $100 in this week, and we need to reach our operating cost goal by the end of the month. But just this week, $100 goal. The first person to contribute $100, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to get a membership so you can start keeping up with all the complete shows. We're going to start having shows almost every day now. New video content, a lot of stuff, but you're going to have a membership, which you can go and subscribe and get one. But the first person to contribute $100 this week will get a lifetime HD archive membership and a signed copy of the Spellcasters once the discs are done. They're still looking at about 3 to 4 weeks before the discs are going to be ready to go. Maybe sooner, maybe 2. If you have pre-ordered one, hang on in there and be patient. And you can also still pre-order DVDs and Blu-rays for the Spellcasters at theglobalreality.com. So please use the donate button on my website, make a contribution, and we're going to be rocking and rolling with all kinds of new content, and I'm excited about what the future holds. Theglobalreality.com is my website. I'm Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you next time for the show. You guys take care.